people, what's going on? Hope you're all doing amazingly well. We're going to jump straight into today's video, and today it's all going to be about let's talk not feeling good enough. And I think a lot of us can relate to this. I think a lot of us have had that time, be it a new job, relationship, within yourself, within friendships, where we just don't feel good enough. I think that's something that we need to ask ourselves in terms of where has that actually come from? Where has this thought of that we're not good enough for something, someone arisen from? I know previously for me, I felt like it, and I think a lot of you guys have felt like it too, where you've done things before where you've put your all into things and nothing's really come from it, and you kind of think, well, what's the point? There's no outcome for what you're doing, all of your hard work, whether that's something where you're doing university work and you're just not getting the grades back that you think you deserve, or maybe it's being in a job role that you're in at the moment and you go to work, you do your 9 to 5, you put in the hard work into things, but there's just no result from it. You might be a defeatist. You might think that, oh, there's no point doing this because it's just never going to be what I want it to be. And you kind of just have that attitude and you just carry it on. If you haven't got the results that you wanted to previously, why would you then go into the future thinking that that would change things? What's the point of being optimistic about it? The feelings that you get from not feeling good enough, they're horrible emotions, they're negative, and if they keep repeating in your cycle, they're not things that you want to do. You don't want to go and push yourself because you're afraid of the outcome that's going to happen. You don't want to grow, you just want to stay in your comfort zone because it's nice and safe there, and you don't have that exposure to the outside world where you could be rejected, you could feel like you're not good enough, you could feel bad about what you're doing, or people are making you feel bad about what you're doing, who you are. Why would you expose yourself to that if it's just going to be an awful feeling all of the time? It's probably the experiences that we've had before that enable us to feel like we're not good enough, or we want to avoid new things because we don't feel good enough. And that's accepting in a way, because if you go and do something, if you go and try something new and you think, actually, I don't like this feeling, this isn't for me, I don't feel like I'm good enough with, like, compared to other people, I don't think I'm ever going to get to a good place doing what I'm doing at the moment, then of course you're going to want to avoid it. It's a natural feeling. If there's like even an ounce of something where you could be rejected, or you could have somebody making you feel not good about yourself, or you could feel awful about what you're doing and put out there scared, anxious, worried, of course you're going to do all things imaginable to avoid that situation, because it's not a nice feeling to have. With not being good enough, it's not just solely from what you do, but how other people treat you as well. Some people are constantly putting you down for what you're doing, all the effort you're putting into things. You get people saying, oh, it's not good enough, that doesn't meet my expectations and values, so you need to be doing this different, you need to be doing that better. And you just think, no matter what I do to try and please other people, to try and please myself, to try and get into a better situation, it's just not happening, and it's getting to that point where I just don't want to do it anymore. And that's really sad when you feel like that you're never going to amount to anything, you're never going to ever get to the place where you want to be in life. It's a natural human feeling. I think from time to time we all feel like that. It's normal to feel like that you might not be good enough for something or someone, maybe due to past experiences, or maybe not having those experiences before, and that's normal. But I think if it's happening constantly and it's making you feel awful about yourself, about other people, about life in general, then there's got to be some kind of measure to support yourself in some way. I've had it a load of times. I expect a lot of people have had it lots of times. If you're not somebody that is very confident in yourself, or you're still working on it and you're still trying to build yourself up, I think not being good enough taps into a lot of stuff a lot of the time. For me, I had friends that seemed to do a lot better than me in a lot of things, more sportier, more chattier, more outgoing, whereas for me it didn't really feel like that was the case, and I'd just be comparing myself all the time, and that went on through my teens. It's a bit of a situation then, because you're already putting yourself on that pedestal, and sometimes nobody's telling you these things, you just kind of think up in your head. If you're an anxious person, then that's something that will derive quite often, because that's just going to be a negative thought that comes into your head, because that's just what you've been used to for a long time. In a previous job where I went to go do something, I wanted to do really well at it, but I didn't have the support in place to help me sustain that and be able to grow from it. The person that I had above me was very negative, was very self-explanatory in terms of she liked things to be the way they were, and that was it. There would be nothing you could say that would change her mind. It was very just cutthroat, and that was it. You just wouldn't have a place. She even told me at one point that she didn't see me doing what I wanted to do in future. I shouldn't be doing things because of the money. You don't build relationships with people. And, you know, for me, that is really, really soul destroying when somebody says that of you. Bearing in mind, only know me for a few weeks, didn't really spend that time with me to get to know me. So you're kind of judging before you're knowing, which at the time I didn't really know, but obviously looking back on it now, it did really make me feel like that was her pleasure. That was something that she did to support herself, to make her feel valuable and good enough about herself. She had to go and make other people feel bad about themselves. It's really soul destroying, and it's self-destruction on you. Again, previously with relationships, when I've dated people previously, or I've just started talking to people, there would be times where I would get ghosted. There would be times where I would be gaslighted. There would be times where I was with this person, I just felt so lucky, but then I kind of forgot myself in the long run because I wanted so much for that person to be happy with me and like me and keep wanting to date me, and then it would get to the point where they didn't want to pursue that anymore, and I'd feel awful about myself. I'm not good enough for that person. When you've been through a lot of negative experiences, when you've been exposed to a lot of negativity, when you haven't had the opportunity to be able to grow and be positive about yourself in a healthy, positive way, it can be very hard to find that for yourself. And it could be a constant thing. It could be something that you meet once in a while. You just have that downtime about yourself and you don't know how to get out of it. There's been plenty of times that I felt like it. And yeah, there's times when I feel like it every now and again. Like a thought crops up and I think, oh, am I good enough to be doing this? And then my head kicks in. I'm thinking, yes, you are good enough to do this. But that's been practiced through a lot of stuff that I'm going to share with you in a minute. I think we can all agree that this is something that a lot of us go through, have gone through, have seen other people gone through. And especially if they're family members and people that you're really close to, and you know how good that person is, you know how amazing and valuable that person is, and you can see that for yourself. But it's when that other person doesn't see that for themselves and you think, oh, I just want to shake you and just say you are amazing, you are good enough. But then it's for that person to see for themselves. No matter how many times you tell somebody, they've got to search that for themselves. And that was a lesson for me that I've learned over the years, and I have learned that lesson, and it's a really important lesson for everybody to learn. And there's ways that you can get there, so you can get there and think, actually, yeah, I am amazing, I am good enough, I'm good enough to be doing this job, I'm good enough to be in a relationship, I'm good enough to have a load of close friends, I'm good enough to be an amazing family member, I'm good enough to do anything that I want to do. So how exactly do you get there in the first place? For me, this is what I've learned so far. The only person's opinion that matters the most is yours. Yes, obviously family members, somebody you're in a relationship with, your friends that you're close to, they all play a part in what they think about you and your life and what you do. But there's a difference between supporting that about you and being negative about that. Some people might not necessarily agree with what you want to do, or they might not think in the same way as you, but that doesn't stop them being that significant person in your life. They'll still be supportive and there for you, even if they don't necessarily agree with things. And that's the difference between somebody being negative. If they're just being negative about the situation and they're just saying, well, I'm not going to support you, then they've completely said what their value and belief is. You've got to think if that's something that's going to help you and fulfill you. And if it's not, you know the answer. Ultimately, it all comes down to you. It's your personal opinion that matters. If it makes you happy and it makes you feel good about yourself, by all means, just carry on. Just keep doing it. Except that sometimes people won't always agree with you. Sometimes it might lead people to distance themselves from you, and that's absolutely fine. That's their decision. That's not for you to have that control over and try and muster back in again. It's all about you. It's all about what you think. What might suit them might not suit you, and vice versa. So that's why it's important to always remember that it's your opinion out of everybody that matters most. Rid yourself of the toxicity. Really think about if there's anything in your life right now, whether that be a hobby, a job, friends, family, relationship, anything that's making you feel bad about yourself or not adding value to yourself. It's possibly time to get rid of it completely and just say to yourself, I need to be happier and I need to grow for myself, and I cannot do that if I'm still being exposed to this type of toxicity. Really have that sit down talk with yourself, which again builds that confidence for you and spending time for yourself and knowing what you will and won't put up with. And that doesn't mean that it's gonna be got rid of forever kind of thing. It might be something that you might not talk to that person very often, you might not spend as much time with them, you might look for other jobs in the meantime if you're not happy with where you are at the moment. You've got one life to lead. Make it count, make it happen. Don't let evil things or negative experiences or feelings from other people put you off from doing that. So therefore you need to expose positivity towards yourself. So following people on Instagram or social media platforms that when you look at scrolling through and you see that they're putting something positive and it makes you feel good about things, then that's a really good start. Social media is a big place for finding people that do that for you and finding people that actually make you feel bad about yourself. Just being honest with yourself. If it's something that did before but it's not now, get rid of it. You don't need it. You need to expose yourself to the positive stuff. You need to expose yourself to people, platforms that motivate you, want you to be your best self, want you to win, want you to be doing all the things in life that you've been too scared to do until now because you've taken that step up and people are saying, yes, you can do it, you are good enough, go for it. That's what you need to expose yourself to. Knowing your worth kind of comes over time. That sort of happens when you're learning more about yourself, and once you put the previous things that I said about into practice and you start doing that, you kind of learn for yourself what your worth is, what you will and won't put up with from other people, what your values and morals are, what you know is best for you and what is best to expose yourself to. You need to be more cutthroat in terms of if this person is saying things that you don't necessarily agree with or things that kind of put a bee in your bonnet and you think, actually I don't like that, then just get rid of it completely. It then allows you to move on to talk to somebody else that might have those same morals and values as you do. And that's what it all comes down to with meeting people, is you have the same kind of beliefs and the same kind of thing going on. It doesn't mean that yours is better than somebody else's and vice versa. It just means that they don't match, and it's not necessarily going to work as a friendship, relationship, working relationship. And there's different things you can do for that. You can listen to podcasts, you can read self-development books, you can watch people on YouTube. I mean, these are the three things that I do quite often that I find really work for me. Give yourself time to just get to know yourself and really spend time with yourself alone, because I don't think people realise just how detrimental it is to avoid spending time with yourself. You know what you do and don't like, you're completely comfortable with yourself, you just have that time to just be you and not be with anybody else. Like, it's such a really nice, valuable thing to have. That's how you learn for yourself, you know, why you are good enough. What are the things that make you good enough? Sometimes you might need to ask people, and that's fine, because then that boosts you up and then that makes you believe in your values and who you are, why you are good enough to be doing what you're doing. And with your past experiences, as we've all had past experiences and are probably going through things now, it doesn't define your outcome. And by that I mean, just because you're going through a negative experience or you've been through them previously, it doesn't mean that it's going to be negative thereafter. Negative experiences enable you to learn lessons from things. They build a stronger character for you. They build resilience. They enable you to be able to cope and get on with things, and enable you to see yourself inside and be like, you know, I got through that really tough time and here I am now fighting, getting up every single day, being that person that I feel that I know is enough. And that's all you can do for yourself. Unfortunately, life just has these curveballs that they like to throw in front of us every now and again, you know, just to test how strong we really are. And once you get past that, you realise just how strong you are. People can do, say whatever they want. Experiences can do, say whatever they want. But at the end of the day, it's knowing that you can get through that yourself. Somebody taught me this a few years ago and it's really stuck with me throughout the time that I've gone through since then. But it's finding your why in life. And your why is your purpose. It's your sole purpose for why you do what you do, why you like, what your opinion is. What is that sole thing that you wake up every day and you think, that's what I do. That's why I get out of bed every day and go to work or go and do these things or do my passions, my hobbies. What is it that solely enables you to do that? I have had my why for say 2-3 years now, and it's always stuck with me since, and it's always written on my wardrobe. I'm just looking at it now. My why is to represent determination, positivity and passion, so that others are inspired to unleash their powerful badass and create their own destiny. And that's what these videos enable me to do, because I've been through so much and because I've had so many experiences and thoughts and feelings. They are things that I want to share because I know a lot of people have gone through it, but maybe they've not talked about it. They find it hard to talk about it. They can't relate to other people because they don't know anybody else that's been through it. Enabling me to film these and for other people to watch them and have that connection with me, or have that connection that, yeah, I've been through that too, that enables them in some way to be their own person and to feel confident about being their own person. That's what helps me, is helping other people. I've always wanted to be somebody just to help others in any way, and I feel like that I do that through a lot of my stuff that I do. I inspire people. A lot of people have told me that this year that I inspire them, which is really nice. It's amazing when somebody feels like that, and when they say it to you, you think, oh, like, that's incredible, so I am doing something. Ultimately, it's all about doing it for myself. Sometimes I do wonder, you know, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? But then I solely come back to that why and just remember why I'm doing what I'm doing, why it's important to me. Always compare yourself to you. Comparing yourself to other people is just a toxic relationship waiting to happen. When you start comparing yourself to have a body like somebody else's, or to be like somebody else, and to feel negative about yourself, you're already causing yourself harm. You're allowing other people to control you and to control who you are without them actually even doing anything to you personally, which is why it's important that you do follow people on social media that do inspire and make you feel positive and that you are good enough for things. Having those people in your life where you're just like, oh, like, I want to be that person, but I'm just never going to amount to it. Amount to being you. Don't amount to being anybody else. It's being authentically yourself, because you draw people in. Other people see you for what you are, and they're just in awe of you because you're just being yourself. You've accepted yourself for who you are. And it can be a really hard lesson to accept yourself for who you are, because it's just really hard if you've never been able to do that for yourself. But it can be something that can happen. I'm a perfect example. I still have moments where sometimes I don't feel like I'm good enough, but I've learned to support that with, nobody has said that to me but myself. So therefore I need to be doing something else in the meantime to help myself with that. It's finding what works for you, makes you feel happy, makes you feel like you're being authentically you. It's not going to be a quick thing. It's a long-term thing that once you've exposed yourself to not feeling it, to then trying to feel good enough, it's a really long road. But once you're on that road, things become easier. When life does throw these curveballs at you, you think, no, I am good enough. I am good enough to overcome whatever is coming up in front of me. The reward you feel for yourself for feeling so good about yourself just outweighs anything. You just feel on top of the world. You just feel amazing about yourself. That's an amazing life lesson to be able to learn for yourself. You don't have to be a certain size to feel good enough. You don't have to look a certain way to feel good enough. You don't have to be dating somebody to feel good enough. You don't have to be surrounded by lots of friends to feel good enough. It all comes from you. Once you start learning that for yourself and you start letting that in, your life will change around you. You'll start drawing in people that are meant for you. You'll start drawing in experiences that are meant for you. The universe will open up their arms to you and they'll say, right, what do you want to do? What is it that you want from life that is going to make you feel good enough? That's pretty much it for what I've got for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please give this a massive thumbs up if you enjoyed it, comment down below, subscribe, push that notification bell. Let's keep building this community. Let's keep sharing experiences, feelings and thoughts. I will see you soon. See you in my next video, and yeah, until then, take care, beautiful people.